I'm Nancy Mura. This is Paul Silovsky. You are signed up for the next hour for the Juice, Nutrition for Your Practice. We're so excited you're here. Lauren, really good to have you. Guys, I'm so happy to be back. I took a week vacation after 5 years and it was amazing. But before the vacation, we had a private practice summit and roundtable of which Lauren Massey was at. It was for private practice owners, PT private practice owners. Here's the real Carrie Lee. We're going to do one of those shows, which is the real Carrie Lee, although Carrie Lee is a very Irish name. And, you know, I don't really look very Irish, do I? But I can fake it on TV or a webinar, whichever you want. All right, I'm good at that. Now I won't be able to stop brogan. It's going to be a problem for the Jews. And no, I'm going to stop channeling Irish people. Okay, so guys, we have this PT Summit Roundtable. It was amazing. It was a really nice, intimate crowd. And then what we did was we had the PT Summit Roundtable wrapped around the Pizza-Palooza. And because I wanted my adult PT private practice owners to see what we have built for pediatric private practice owners. And the only thing that made a pediatric was talking, you know, peds or billable hours versus, you know, in speech and stuff like that, and kiddos versus other things. But basically it was the admin of private practice. So it was fine for everybody. But then we met separately. Paul Silovsky delivered an amazing presentation on how to CEO during challenging times. We had Dimi Kostopoulos, who's an MD, PT, DPT, PhD, LMNOP, XYZ. So many letters you can't even keep track. And he presented from a cruise ship in Aruba on the current situation. And then we got around and we all had successful actions that we all shared. It was it not tremendous, Paul and Lauren?
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah.
So
really good.
If you're an adult private practice, can you message me and put that in the chat? Because there's names here that I don't recognize. So we'd love to see that. So we have a very small crowd, and that's awesome because we get some more question and answer time. But Paul's put together a really amazing, hi Brianne. Paul's put together a really amazing presentation today on creating time. And I have to tell you, I am time's executioner. I am times, when I find out that I have a layover of like 3 hours at an airport, other people are losing their minds. I'm like, I'll kill that in no time. How do I kill it? Social media, gabbing on the phone with friends. And then I go into a whole dramatization of I can't do that. I don't have enough time. You don't understand. I am so busy. I'm so busy. You don't understand. And then I could kill 3 hours in an airport, like lickety split. It'll go by like that. So I've kind of put the kibosh on that, and Paul's going to give us some really good information on how, with some real actual administrative technology on how he does that. He's the master at that. He gets a lot. Boy, this guy gets done in a day what it would take other owners like 3 weeks to do. I kid you not. He's super A to B, organized, has people under him, trained up, leaders. He's crushing it like that. And so we're gonna let Paul take it away in a minute here. I just want to give you some updates. So for those of you, now, if you are adult, you're welcome to come to any of our stuff. You just have to deal with the fact that we talk about kiddos a lot, but in the context of administrative technology. We're going to have, I just got off the Lemonade webinar, and we had a webinar in a virtual event in February for the last 2 years called Strategize to Maximize. Guys, this is every single number you should ever be tracking. It's not goal setting like we want to paint the foyer, we want to hire 2 more PTs. It's not like that. It is literally every number you should track and setting targets for all of those. It takes a whole day. It's a 3-page spreadsheet. Some people cry when they get it. And some people, like the survival strategies people who bring you this webinar and bring the lemonade and sponsor all the events, they have a pediatric and an adult version software that you track all this stuff. Paul, you've had it for how long? You've had OMS for how long?
Long time.
Long time, years, when it was like a whole other system. So anyway, it's a tracking system. Brianne probably has it. And that's what we go over. So we're probably going to put that up in January. So that's new. And then the next PEDS event that's going to be live is going to be, oh, no, sorry. We're going to have another virtual that's going to be bonuses, hat writing. You need your hat writing as a prereq. Hat writing is just how to write up those positions. So then you can bonus them. You can't bonus what you don't know what they're doing, what you're bonusing them for. So there's a prereq, hat writing, bonuses, probably negotiating, insurance negotiation, and possibly Diane's ladder system, which is amazing, and it's her system. This is how you train up leaders. That's going to be virtual February. It's looking like the 24th and 25th, which is a Friday, Saturday. And then our next live event is going to be April 29 and 30. If I get enough adult private practice owners, PT private practice owners, more than happy to throw another summit in there, but we got to have some peeps to do that. So vote in, go to the Private Practice Network. If you're not in that, the Private Practice Networking Conferences is our Facebook group, and it's where I communicate the most and my team communicate the most. If you're a private practice PT that has adults, as that's your public. If you're peds, you want to go to Pedzapalooza community and conferences, and that's if you're peds. If you're both, then you really want to go and be in both. There is some criteria on visits on some of them. Carrie Lee literally vets everybody, so we keep the conversations very relevant. So there's ones for new people, there's ones for more advanced people. Just get on there and we'll direct you to the right group for you. So Paul, take it away with how we're going to create more time, because I don't know about you, that is a huge situation over here in Nancyville.
Awesome. Well, I have 51 minutes then to cover this entire subject in at least some kind of detail. Okay, good. So I do have some slides to guide me, to keep me on task here, because I actually condensed this. I have a little longer version of this where I really get into breaking apart what time really is, because that's while it's an important part of this, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the study of time, but I will get into I'll give you guys a couple of really good tools. Actually, I'll just put it here. I'll put my slides up. Do the little share thingy, and show. Okay, so creating and controlling time, I definitely don't get into the concept of attempting to manage it, like Nancy was saying. She made a pretty profound statement about that she really does slay. She's the slayer of time, if you will, and you have to kind of have that attitude, and I'll get into the kind of decisions that folks have made about that subject that really get in their way of overcoming that barrier, because it is a barrier. I'll tell you, from my view, the intended results here. I'm going to give you at least two action tools, things that you can actually walk away and do. Now, what I mean by this is normally a little bit longer seminar. I can do it in 60 minutes for sure. I only have 50, but I pulled a few pieces out because I want you to walk away with not necessarily being able to do it as a result of being here today, but you will definitely have two tools that you can walk away with and take a look at for yourself and actually do. That'll create more time to maximize your prosperity, or leverage, at a higher level, your prosperity in life. And I'm going to get into prosperity here in a second, because it's not just finance. But here's some questions that you'll be able to answer. I'm not expecting you to answer these right now. I'm not going to spend, if we were in a live workshop where I had you all in a room, that's where I can make this thing very interactive and fun and very practical, because we can do all the practicals. I would have you answer these. I just want you to look at a flash answer to these questions. What do you really like to do in business or life? Because you're going to use those things to leverage your prosperity. What are you really good at that could make you more prosperous? And look at this derivation of the word prosperity, or prosperous from prosperity, to succeed. You know, we're looking for success here. We're looking for fortune, and it actually comes from the word hope. Okay. So what should you ideally be doing most of the time in order to be more effective and prosperous? You know, you're going to look at those things today. You're at least going to get a glimpse at those today, because I'm going to give you a tool that allows you the increased ability to evaluate that. And then you'll have to answer this question after today, which is the responsibility part of getting on a seminar like this or a workshop like this. What are you really doing most of the time? You know, are you spending time on things that leverage your prosperity, or not so much? Or are you just staying busy? Are you a slave to things that you don't necessarily need to be doing, that aren't as important as other things that you should be doing? And then what do you think the main reason or reasons might be for not being able to do what you should be doing most of the time? Okay, we're going to be looking predominantly at things related to your practice or your business, but we would definitely include those other things that are important to, balancing, quote unquote, balancing out your life, or making your life more prosperous and fulfilling across all areas of life: yourself, your family, your company, your community, groups that you're in, your church, whatever it is, right? I won't evaluate what's important to you, but there's going to be a couple of main things that you need to lean into that'll not only create more prosperity, you'll actually free up time and turn some things over that need to be turned over. And then what would happen to you if you could be doing what you should be doing most of the time? Now, if you can answer these questions, or just move it forward, move from the existing scene towards a more ideal scene, this will be a really beneficial 50 minutes of your week, for sure. Check this out. Why is time running you? Again, in an interactive style, I would ask you guys, ask questions. I will ask for you guys to type in at the end of this slide anything else that I missed here, because there's many things that you run into, and why time would be running you. I know I did this very early in my ownership and executive career, not so much as a PT, because we're pretty, as a therapist, and pretty trained, but certainly as a business owner and executive, I was handling lots and lots of emergencies. Being a therapist, I think we love problems. I think we're problem magnets. We love to solve problems. But as owners and executives, it maybe isn't the most ideal thing to be an expert at, is solving other people's problems. Or you'll fix a lot of mistakes, other people's mistakes, other folks in the organization's mistakes. Or you might be the only one, you might be the most smartest one in the room, or the most trained one, and you're the only one that knows what to do. So it's just a lot easier for you to do it yourself, right? And then there's clearly not enough hours in the day. A lot of people say that, although, we all have the same 168 hours in a week. So I know for me, I had to be brutally honest, not just as a result of this drill, but I know for me, it took more than 40 hours, and I've never been held to a 40-hour work week or time clock. I wasn't brought up that way, and I've never operated that way, even when I wasn't an owner. But, I do recognize that it oftentimes takes me more than 40 hours to get 40 hours worth of work done, which is a big difference. So I will give you a tool to leverage, bringing up more time to do the things that you should be doing, and also then becoming more efficient and effective at the things that are going to leverage you the most. I will go back. So are there any other things? I'm just curious in the chat, and if you can put in the chat if there's any other reasons why, outside of this limited scope here, why time's running you. I'd be interested if you guys have something else, because I'd love to add to my list for future presentations, but I also learn from engagement with you guys. And we have a small enough group that I'll take a quick look, or Nancy can let me know. But there's something else other than that. drop it in the chat, let other people
No
know.
planning, like no battle plan, no to-do list, just winging it, just taking them.
No planning, right? Yeah, no plan, no weekly plan in mind, not enough mid-level managers to help, wearing too many hats. 100%, Lauren. One of my major strategic objectives right now for my company that we're working on. I was telling Nancy, I'm doing this from a hotel room in Kansas. I don't have a home here anymore. So when I come back, but my the conference room that I use when I go back is enamored with staff to the new staff day that we're training. So we're, for our strategic objective, I want to double my leadership team. I'm going to, Lauren talks about mid-level managers. That's going to buy everybody more time. We have to create, we need to be a lot busier than we are to demand more full-time executives. I tell my execs, I go, you're just not, you just got to create more action, more activity, because we're not, if we were even busier, then we can just dedicate one person to doing one thing. So training directors to function independently and make the best business decisions. Good. You're going to be able to use this tool, by the way, with your managers. You can take this tool away. The guide that I'm going to give you, the 4 steps at the end to lay out an objective grid to really look at your week. And this will be really, really helpful for those guys. Good. Let me go to the next slide here. So why is time running you? You will find out that time is never the real problem. It isn't a matter of time. There's a hidden source to our time problems. But before I get into that hidden source, and Patrick Bolton covers this really well in a workshop that he does, it's related to time creation as well, which is where some of this material comes from, not all of it. But check this out. Time can be found to be regulated by postulates. What is a postulate? Here's a definition. Okay, this is a dictionary definition used in the verb sense, right? To ask, demand, or claim. I love the demand one. So a postulate is a demand. It's a demand or a decision that you've made that you're demanding some outcome or something to happen, right? But there's it's a personal ask. You're asking of yourself. It's not a prayer or some other kind of request, even though it says it comes from postulary, to ask for, require, related to request. So this is going to be the decision or the postulate, or you're the one that's regulating the time. Nancy, you said it right in the beginning. You don't have, because you don't have a lot of time, you've decided it's not going to take a long time to do any one thing, right? And you actually said that. I'm paraphrasing. You said it another way right when we opened the talk, but it's really true. So how does this work? How would a postulate or the demand or the decision to get something done or get something completed or have some actionable thing manifest itself as a done in our work life or in life in general? So have you ever seen or again, when I'm doing a live seminar where we're in a room, we can give a lot of examples here, but I'm going to get through the data for your guys' benefit here. So I will give you some examples. But have you ever seen or been around people that have made a postulate or decision or put something in their universe, in their world, that negatively affects their ability to regulate time? I know I have. Have you ever been given something, by a coworker or a spouse, and have the concept, the immediate decision that you make is like, that's going to take forever, right? And that might be working against you, by the way, if you've decided that some task or some project or some activity, because of your past experiences or because of how difficult something was previously, just because there was a bad outcome before, people make a decision or demand of themselves that they can't do it, or demand that it will take a long time. That is a decision, by the way, saying, gosh, that'll take forever, or that'll never happen, right? Those are decisions. Those are things that are regulating your time, your management, or your ability to create time, because time is regulated by the decisions that you make. I'll also say this about time. A lot of people don't even understand the physical elements of time. Like I was tracking, I love track and field, by the way. So I'll use a track analogy, and not on the negative example, just to clarify something else about time. You have to have, a distance between two spaces or distance between two objects. You have to have space in order to create time. Think about a track, right? An oval, or even let's just go 100 meters. We didn't go all the way around the track, go 100 meters, from point A to point B. And, you have to have movement in space for time to occur. Once the body moves from one end to the other, or a bunch of bodies are moving, all of them are going the same distance, but all those racers are traveling at a different rate or a different speed, right? And sometimes it actually is just it is their considerations, and obviously it's training has a lot to do with it too for an athlete. But my point is you don't have time without objects moving in space. So the more action and activity you get going in your organization, and the fewer negative effects that you have, or negative ideas people have about the concept of time and how long something takes, it really affects outcomes. How much it does affect how long things will take. On the positive side, have you ever seen how when you make a decision about, because whether, necessity level has a lot to do with it sometimes, where you don't have a lot of time to, let's say it's a week, you have all weekend to clean your house, and you make a meal out of it. You make, something really long, but if someone's coming over to your house in 30 minutes, you're like, oh shit, how much cleaning can you get done in 30 minutes compared to the weekend before, right? It is your decision about how long something, can and should take. And, necessity level is the mother of invention. If you have enough necessity, you can get a lot of things done. And this is one of the things that I do as an executive. I'm there to increase the necessity level of my peers. And because I believe that they can positively affect their ability to regulate time. I know I can get across town faster than most people, because I've just decided that I don't have enough time. I can't take any more time than what is allotted to get to that appointment. And I'm not talking about just speeding, but you'll find ways to remove stops and barriers. So we all have experienced these. I'd love to hear your stories. I don't have enough time today in this forum to do that in a live seminar. I'd actually do this seminar with all my executives and staff, and I spend more time getting examples, because getting these practical examples, I'm sure you guys have all experienced it. Nancy, you might have one that you can think of, that because I know the level of the random motion in your environment has increased over the last several years doing the Pizza Palooza. But have you seen this where your decisions and your attitudes affected your ability to get more done in this thing in 60 days?
Okay, what I was thinking of when you said it wasn't actually work related, but I can tie it into that. But it was actually when, you've got 2 tickets to Hawaii and you've got all these cycles you have to get done. You're not missing that flight. You're not missing that. But yet you also know you cannot leave without having somebody, you got to handle a person. Like me going to the Palooza, I'll tie it into work. Getting ready for the Palooza the week or 2 before it is just crushed insanity. And I just have things I cannot not get done. Like I have to have dog food made for my dog for this time was a 3-week thing. So we're making dog food. We're handling the girl who was going to watch the dog was like, oh, I can't watch your dog. I thought it was another 3 weeks different. That what? I had to find a dog handler, wound up flying somebody in from Florida to watch my dog. And it was cheaper than the damn dog watcher, but that's a whole other story. The things you get done when you have that pressing, it's like the elevator in I'm Dating Myself, Get Smart, which was a really funny sitcom in the 60s or the 70s. But anyway, if you see reruns, the elevator's coming down on Smart, Agent Smart, and he gets out somehow. So that's the way I look at it. Like I got these crushing cycles, and you just postulate there is no doubt. There's no room for doubt. You're like, I have to get these things done, and miraculously you do. It just happens.
Yeah, 100%. So hopefully you guys have thought of, the positive and the negative, because you have to listen to, and it's not just a self-talk thing, right? It's not just, not just having an idea about something. It's actually deciding that that's the way that it would go either negatively or positively. And so, yeah, I mean, your mindset has a lot to do with it, but you have to know absolutely that it's going to get done in a short amount of time. I like to work under pressure. I know I do my best writing. I write some articles for some publications that we do in the company. It's one of the ways I stay connected to the public, even though I'm not there. I write some articles, and it's fun. I don't intentionally wait till the last minute to write them. I just find that slot of time, and but I only give myself a certain amount of time. I don't wait until it's too late to write it just to give myself a game. I'm not talking about that kind of weird game. I'm just saying that I make myself get it done in a short amount of time, and it's a creative process. I can literally go out on a bike ride just to get out of my head or whatever. I like to cycle. And then that's when I write some of my best stuff. And then I just immediately go sit down, and I'm not even done sweating by the time I get it done. So I leverage those things, right? Because it's important for me to take care of the meat bag, but at the same time, I understand, where my creativity comes from. So I'm leveraging those things, but I give myself deadlines and timelines to get things done. And it's a decision that's going to be done by that time, and hold myself to it. So the real way to be assured of a great deal of time is to be able to create time. I'm going to give you tools for doing that. This is this is an extra credit tool. I found this a lot, and this is really, really true. I know of all the clinicians on here that have evaluated and treated a lot of patients. So I'll give you an example using treatment, but making decisions has a lot to do with time, as much to do with time. If you have decision, you have time. If you do not have decision, you don't have time. So here's the thing. Make lots of decisions if you want more time is what this statement means. But I'll use a patient evaluation. The faster you can get to the point of decision on, and I'm now dealing with outpatient orthopedic, and we don't see a crazy number that I know a lot of the guys on the coast have had to because of reimbursement. Our reimbursement's okay, it's not great, but that's not as relevant to my point about, I know I become a good evaluator because I could get to the point of decision rapidly with my patients. I could acquire enough data and do an evaluation and assimilate, a subjective history and, my objective clinical tests and my functional tests and whatnot to the point of decision and get right into action. And I always had plenty of time with my patients because I was making decisions. I didn't get stuck on maybes. I didn't present a maybe to a patient. You've got to do this in management. You have to, as an executive and an owner, you have to be fast at making decisions, but don't get stuck in maybes. If you get a lot of, what do I do? Or should I do this? Or you put things on hold, you're going to jam up your timeline. You're going to put so many things, so many maybes on your plate that if you just make decisions, even if they're the wrong decision, you'll feel better for a while. You can always come back and change. I mean, the best ability, one of the greatest abilities we have is the ability to change our mind. But just make lots of decisions about the important things, which we'll get into more later. But decision and time have a lot to do with each other. This is a great tool to give the young clinicians too. Is like get them to the point where they can just make decisions based upon the data that's presented to them, where they can just observe. Anybody that's done the management training program, one of my favorite definitions of ability from the Harvard management technology is the definition of ability, which is to observe, to make decisions, and to act. The faster you can, get at taking a good look and deciding and going into action, you will move particles in space and create time and just make lots of decisions. So that's my extra credit, my extra bonus one. Now we'll move into the two tools that I want to show you about. So the solution, right? The solution, the real answer to the problem on time. And to leverage your prosperity, your leverage of the prosperity problem, right? Because you want to do things that are profitable. It's priority management. It's not time management. Don't manage time. Time is your slave, like Nancy said. Time is, you're there to create it. and run it, not the opposite. Don't let time run you, because, you know, it's something that's just, you know, it's on a clock. It's something that manifests itself physically. You have to get in your mind and get in your operating mode, you know, what is called priority management. So priority management is to do the right now thing, which contributes most to reaching your ideal scene. You've got an existing scene, whatever that is, whatever your scene is. We've got problems with hiring, like most people. We've got we need to hire, 4 to 6 more. I need 2 right away, but we actually need 6 to really expand. We need 2 to get back to quote unquote, our normal level of staffing, 2 more to keep the current clinics going, and then 2 more to open the next one I'm going to open next year. So I need 6, but I have to figure out what are the priority actions to move us from the current scene to the ideal scene. And priority management is your solution to time and prosperity creation. I want to break this down a little bit further. I'm not going to, I have a whole other seminar I do on ideal scenes and what all is involved in naming that out. And really, because I'm very much a visionary. I'm the visionary of the company. I'm the goal maker. I'm the policy setter. I'm the strategic planner and all those things. So I have to have a really good perspective of where we're going, right? And I know what's ideal and what's not. We don't have an ideal scene. We have a more ideal scene now than we did 5 years ago or whatever, or even 2 years ago. I mean, hopefully everybody's got a better ideal scene than they did 2 years ago. But from moving from 2019 to 2021 for us was a big jump. We really moved it forward. And, I have to pick the priority things that are going to move it the most. You want to get the most out of your time, but you also want to get the thing that's going to move the dial long term too. So you have to be able to prioritize and think with the things you see every day, and don't pick up the little stuff. Don't sweat the small stuff, I guess is what they say, right? But I do sweat the big stuff. I sweat the big stuff every day, because that's what I'm going to lean into. And that's why I can have a very focused battle plan, weekly battle plan, or overall strategic plan. I do strategic planning with my guys. I'm doing it again on Friday. We update our strat plan every month. But at the end of last month, first part of October, we did it for the whole quarter, and we've only got 4 or 5 targets. That's it. I mean, we've got 4 or 5 things we're working on, and don't talk to me about anything but those 4 or 5 things in our weekly meeting. All the other things are noise for me. They're not priorities. It's those, they have to then do the same thing in their area and take the top priorities for each of their areas, and PR and marketing, HR and finance, and then obviously the clinical production area. So check out this definition of priority: the fact or condition of being regarded or treated as more important than others. The thing regarded as more important than other things. This is a skill. This is something you have to practice as an executive, as an owner. You have to get people focused on the priority actions, because your staff will make decisions based upon, this might be shocking to some of you, by the way, they'll make staff based on either the area of least resistance or the thing that they're most trained in, the thing that they're most comfortable with. But most definitely, they will not confront the priority items if A, they don't know what they are, and B, they don't know how to attack them or handle them. And my job is to increase my staff's ability to attack the things that are the hardest to confront, but more importantly, the bigger priority items, because what's a priority to them may not be the top priority to the organization. So we're going to do a drill with you guys individually, but you have to look at this. There's another quote from the management technology from Survival Strategies. However, management technology, it says man's worst difficulty is his inability to tell the important from the unimportant. And that's very true of a lot of our staffs. And it's not because they're dumb or anything like that. They're just not they're not trained up yet completely to be able to make those decisions or discern what thing is more important than another. And that's where your heading, it's where your job descriptions and your heading comes in. And grooving in every month the strategic plan where you guys are headed as an organization. So here's this priority management principle: spend more time on activities that give you the best leverage in your business or in life. Those can be named important activities. Stop wasting your time on urgent actions or things that seem urgent or important. If they're not important, or if they don't progress towards your ideal scene. Now, guys that have done management training with survival strategies, you'll know this. One of the early things you do is lay out what the ideal scene is for your company. And if you don't have a vision of where you're going, it's really dang tough to get there. But inside of that ideal scene will be priority things that you must handle first, second, or third, whatever they might be. There can be certainly be more than one thing. I told you we've got 4 or 5 main objectives, and they're compartmentalized by the areas of our company. But they are definitely prioritized, the one that's going to make the most impact on either income or patient, successful patient completions, or even the lives of our executives and our staff. I'm there to improve their lives too. So here's your first action tool. So I call it, it's called the 4 Ds of priority management. You'll see the D's in a second. So if you do, I very crudely, right before Nancy said, "Hey, Paul, you need to get on," I'm like, "Oh crap, I didn't make this little." I don't have a full example of what I'm going to show you next. But if you were just going to draw a an XY axis graph, right, on the vertical axis, if the vertical axis was urgency and the horizontal axis was importance, we would have a grid here that you can establish your ideal scene against. And this it plays on this decision-making concept that I said before. If you want to have more time, make more decisions. This is a decision-making tool. It's also a priority management tool using 4 Ds. Check this out. So this is my crude drawing. I literally just did this on a graph. So there's 4 grids here, right? So on this axis, it's urgency. On this axis, I got the I for importance. So things are more important as they go up, and more urgent as they go up, and more important as they go out. And this is a good decision-making tool. So I've got 4 quadrants here, right? So this would be the quadrant with the, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse or not. I guess I need a drawing tool. On the top right quadrant would be those things that are most important and most urgent. And then we bump over to the left. They're more urgent, but less important. And then down here in this bottom column, this is the things you don't worry about. And then in the bottom right quadrant, then those things are important but less urgent. So let me show you how this works. So the top right quadrant, I'll go back one here. So top right, you do it now. If that's urgent and important, right? And they have to be, important strategic factors for you, for your life or your company, you do it now. You do it right now. Don't let those things wait. If they're the top left, they're urgent, but they're not as important. Delegate it. That's how you decide. It's like, well, how important is this thing? Well, it's not that important, but it is urgent. That's where you give it to somebody else. Hopefully you can delegate it. For those of you that are familiar with the 3-basket system, you got, your inbox and your pending box and your outbox. Well, you send those things out, you delegate those things in the top left. And then on the bottom right, where they are important but not as urgent, you plan it out. You can put it on hold for a second, but you write a plan for that, and then you can either delegate it or handle it later. And then things that are urgent or not urgent and not important, you dump it. You don't handle it at all, or you can throw it in the trash, or just tell somebody that, hey, it's not urgent, it's not important, don't worry about it. So one of your hats as an executive, as an owner, is to groove your staff into, what's in the top right. I'll go back up to this little grid. Top right is urgent and important. Top left is, urgent, little less important. Bottom right is, not very urgent, but important. So those things you're going to plan out. And you can use this as a decision-making tool. I think it's a pretty simple approach. Nancy, I should ask if there's any questions on that before I go on, because I'm going to show them another tool here in the next 15 minutes.
Awesome.
Any questions on that from anybody, or any need for clarification? I realized I probably should have had a drawing tool, and it was that was my last second draw that I did. I realized.
I like the crude. Is that what it looks like in real life, or do you have a fancy thing that you use?
No, when I do this live, I just have a grease board and I draw everything out.
No. When you do it for yourself in real life, like you're doing it for you, do you have a fancy thing?
No, I don't. No, I don't.
You just do it like that. So that's what it really looks like. So see, it doesn't have to be fancy.
Yeah, I use it. I have a grease. Yeah, I have a grease board in my conference room at the office, and my staff still laugh at me because I still love getting up there and drawing and, writing things down. But I didn't realize I didn't have it in this presentation because I normally do this live. But the next tool I do have laid out in more like a word in a format that's typed out. So on the second action tool. Good. So I don't see anything coming in the chat. So good. I've either lost everybody or here we go. So check this out. Second action tool. This is another priority management tool. This is a lot more detailed than what I just gave you. What I told you before on urgency and importance are, it's relative to your ideal scene and what you want your staff to be leaning into or your executives. So I'm going to show you. You guys can take a screenshot of what I'm going to put up later, so you don't necessarily have to write all these down. We don't have enough time in 15 minutes for you to do this whole drill, but you will know how to do the drill. You should do this. This is where I tell people, bear in mind that you have 168 hours. Most people that I find that are owners or senior executives in our type of companies, most of them are going to put somewhere in the range of 75, 85 hours, up to 90 hours on this grid that I'm going to suggest to you. So if you have 4 vertical columns on a piece of paper, in the first column, if you listed out all your major work or production activities that you're involved in on a weekly basis, I would keep it to 10 or less, and include important activities. Like if working out's important to you and a certain amount of family time, I'm not talking about making dinner and bathing kids and that. I'm not talking about those normal life, and you don't have to put eating on there. You don't have to put, cleaning the house unless it takes you a bunch of time. But I would include, like I have family time in this drill for me. So don't just include work stuff in this column. So let me give you an example. So this would be for a clinic director or a clinic manager. So they have, they have a certain number of management meetings. They're doing PR and marketing actions. They do have family time. Maybe they're studying or doing personal enhancement, which is important for me. I study every week. I read or train on something. I'm training on some kind of platform or, using coaching, whatever it might be. Your documentation or administrative time. If you're an executive, you have, paperwork or statistics or whatever. Here I actually have stat analysis and planning down. This was one that I did with somebody else. That working out or physical activity is important for them every week. Their production time, this person was in patient care. Volunteer time was important to them, and they had a hiring element. So there's 10 things right there, and we didn't even get far into the personal life other than family time and volunteer time and maybe some personal enhancement and study or whatever. And if you didn't have kids or whatever, you might just put time with a spouse or significant other. But so that's the simplicity of the first column. In the second column, you prioritize each activity, per your ideal scene, per what would be most important for you to leverage, because this is a planning tool. So if you've listed your 10 things, and I know I didn't give you enough time to do that, you'll know how to do this though. And you said, okay, in terms of priorities, not time, not hours, okay, not how much time do I spend doing those things, but which one of those 10 things is going to leverage my own personal prosperity or my business prosperity, because I would do both. What is the most important activity that I should be involved in that I'm good at, that makes the biggest difference. I tell people all the time, man, if you could just find things that you love and that you're good at and that you help a lot of people, great formula, by the way, because a lot of people find things that they love and they're good at, but they don't help a lot of people. They don't reach enough people to get paid. Then I think you can be prosperous. Because I know for me, as long as we're helping a lot of people, we're doing something we're good at and something we love, we've got a pretty good chance we can promote and sell the shit out of that. And that's how I view it. I look at those things when we're doing new things all the time. So where do you have the strongest leverage of your prosperity or the prosperity of your business? Because it can be your own personal prosperity too. I mean, our company certainly services goals and dreams that Roxanne and I have, as well as our staff. But we definitely rely on Rebound for the majority of our income until we either sell part of it or all of it until there's either a legacy or liquidation event. So this is the second step. So this person, this isn't mine necessarily, this person identified 1 to 10 of those 10 actions, not by hours, what was most important? They knew that if they drove in more new business through PR and marketing, that was going to be the biggest difference. And the second biggest difference was hiring more staff. So they needed more new business. They needed their staff to be busier. And number one, and number two, they knew that hiring was most important. Then right on down the line, then this person said, "God, I've got to spend more time, learning how to be an executive or be a better person or whatever it is. I got to enhance myself personally. I'm not spending." Mainly, they look at this and said, "I'm not spending enough time learning." And then right on down the line, then they knew that they had to keep, that this person had to stay in patient care and do producing. So they ranked things. Then on the other end, you can see that it felt like they were, wasting their time leverage-wise prosperity by doing documentation. Their workout must not be a problem, but you can see how they prioritize. So this is the priority management part of the drill, just from ranking things from the current scene, the current existing scene towards the ideal scene. Okay. Then step 3 in the third and fourth column, I'll show you this combined here in a second. So in the third column, then you just write down the number of hours you're spending on average in the week, so that you can objectively look at how much time am I spending on these, 10 different things. And then we'll reallocate the priorities. Then we'll look at what that's why I asked those early questions. Well, if you were spending the time on the things that were really going to leverage your prosperity in life, how much time are you spending on those things versus other things that maybe don't leverage your prosperity? In the third column, you just write the hours. In the fourth column, and you'll just look at the number of hours that you actually spend, 1 to 10, and rank them by the hours spent each week. So, and this is, the current reality of the hours spent, not your ideal scene. So even if you realize, oh gosh, that's not very productive and I'm spending too much time at it, if you're spending a bunch of time, and I'll give you a real example on one of mine. When I did this the last time, I realized I was spending too much time in meetings. And what I did was just reduce the time of my meetings. I didn't do less meetings. I realized that every one of those meetings was important, because I don't have unimportant meetings with my guys, but I was wasting some time. So I was able to get 4 to 6 hours out of my week back, just by, adopting some new policy on how we're going to conduct our meetings. But they were still important. They weren't as important as other things I was doing, but I found I got about 4 to 6 hours more out of my work week just by adjusting that. I didn't adjust the importance of it. I just, found more time and gave it to something else that needed more time, that was going to leverage my prosperity. So here's an actual example. So this in this scenario, with these 9 items, this was the amount of time this person was spending. They were doing 30 hours a week treating, 12 hours in meetings, 10 hours of family time, which is good. They probably didn't need to change that much, but all they did was rank these hours. They spent 1, there's 1 on 30, 2 on 12, and 3 on 10, and then right on down the line. And this now gives us a priority management view. I'll show you in a lit up version here next. Check this out. So this was somebody else. This was someone I actually did this with. I did this with another owner not too long ago. It was actually earlier this year. So she was at 87 hours on this grid. And I have it in red, yellow, and this other thing, this other pink thing, because she was spending it was the 4th highest rated thing for current prosperity, but it was number 1 on the grid. So, this is where she just needs to, find a replacement for this. She just needs to replace her hours, and she's going to gain a lot of time back. So I put it in pink just because it's kind of an oddity. It's still, 1 and 4 is not that far apart. But check this out. She ranked her management meetings. She had the same problem I used to have. She ranked management as number 8 priority wise, yet it was number 2 in dominating her time. So she's finding ways to skinny this down because she was spending, it wasn't, I'm sorry, she can definitely cut this down because it's not as big a priority. Like if this was her ideal scene, that she spent less time in these meetings, yet it was the second most dominant thing. So what I do is I look at these numbers that are far apart. Look at this, 3 and 9. This is the 3rd most important thing, but she was only spending 2 hours a week reading and enhancing herself. Well, she's going to have to rob time from these meetings and put it over here. And training is one opportunity, or from, production time. And then, but the big red one, the biggest difference was top priority was PR and marketing. And yet it was the 6th ranked thing. She was only spending 4 hours a week on it. And correct me if I'm wrong, Nancy, I know you don't do analysis on practice owners, but you've talked to plenty of owners. And I've talked to so many owners about PR and marketing actions, and they spend way too little time on it.
Way too little,
Yeah. In comparison to how important it is, like it becomes, if it's the elephant in the room, yet they don't spend any time. It's probably one of the most common things I see. And the same thing was down here in red in the HR hiring area. It was the 2nd most important thing, and they were spending 3 or 4 hours a week on it. Well, it doesn't seem like it's very important then, right? Because it was the 6th most dominant thing in their week. Now, you can get really good at some of these things, but I never got good at anything, especially treating patients, until I got frequent, until I got trained. I came out of school trained as a therapist, but it didn't mean I was efficient as I was 10 years later or 20 years later. But, you have to get, frequent before you get good. But doing training is really, really a big key here. Hopefully you can see how this thing works, because I'm going to definitely answer some questions here in just a second. And this is only 87 hours, by the way. She got 168 hours. It's kind of eye-opening when you do this. Now, like I said, you're not talking about eating here and doing, laundry and taking care of your family and those, because that's not the kind of family time I'm talking about. This person had 10 hours of a couple hours a day or whatever, or maybe it was a half a day on on each of the weekends or something, where they were actually just going to doing something together as a family. I'm not talking about the everyday things you do. So this is 87 hours. I don't know how many hours you guys sleep, but even if someone sleeps 7 hours, that's 49 hours. You add 49 to that, you've still got some time left to live life for sure. So a lot of people look at this and go, "Wow, this is half your time." 187 of 168, right? So bear that in mind. I don't want to minimize what people are doing, but it's really, if you look at the disparity between the priority on the left and the actuality on the right in the rankings, that's where your opportunity to take the same 87 hours and adjust them from a priority managed from an importance standpoint. Or I like the concept of leverage. You want to leverage the thing that's going to pay you long term. And I can almost guarantee across the board. And Nancy, I don't think I'm going above and beyond by saying this. I can guarantee that almost everybody on this call, because I'm still working on it. The thing I fight for the hardest is this study in personal enhancement, because I know when it drops out, when I'm not training, we're not expanding, because I have to push myself. It's the reason I go out and ride. I go out to push myself. I don't go out just for the health and wellness benefits. I go out to push myself. So I do training. I stay connected to coaches and consultants, no matter what. Year round, because it's the thing that's going to allow us to expand, and this thing that's going to push me. So personal bias there, but that's why I also stay connected to survival strategies and network with other professionals, because there's people out there that are certainly bigger than us and more efficient and more effective in particular areas. We're good in certain areas. We're really good in certain areas. We have our strengths, but I have to learn from other people too, and then sit my butt down in a chair too and read and study every week. But again, that's a biased statement. I'm not going to evaluate that for you, because you guys you guys are already on programs. You're probably deeply entrenched with enhancement. But I am going to stop the share and ask any questions. Hopefully that is clear enough and beneficial enough. You guys got a screenshot. You can lay those things out and do your own priority management drill. We didn't have enough time to sit down and do a practical, but literally in about a 90-minute scenario, I can usually get through the whole thing and have someone at least, get that laid out. But Nancy, open for questions now, because we got a couple minutes.
Yeah, so anybody got a question? Because I got a comment on that PR action here. Because I'm a PR, I'm like a PR, like that's my whole jam. That is my jam. And that's Carrie Lee's jam. And I'm going to tell you, I listen to other owners, and we like to mentor you guys, but mentors need a mentor. So I was watching this amazing marketing guy, and he was saying they're in Florida, and he was saying how PR is how they are hiring people. They are not hiring people from Florida that want to be in Florida, that are Florida. They are making themselves so known as to what they do, what their mission is, what their mission statement is, what their purpose is that they're hiring people. Forget Indeed. Indeed is like, somebody called me up and said, are these the prices for real? And I was like, oh my gosh, I was flabbergasted. And then you guys sometimes don't even get good leads from it. I'm telling you, PR, the one thing alone that you can get, this is why it's got to be moved up in that time thing, is you can actually get candidates if you put out there who you are, what you stand for, what you're creating, what your purpose is. You will have people that are like, damn, I do not have this at my current place. I want to go work for them. And these people in Florida said they hire people from California all the time. Who could blame them? California is like everybody's getting out, including me. They hired people from Chicago recently. They hired people from Illinois recently. So that's the interesting thing, is that PR is like, it's free except for your time, but it's really got to move up there. Need to launch wait, oh no, that's to me. Okay. Any questions? No questions on this? You guys got this? You're all ready to take it home and kill it and stop wasting time on, like, I'm telling you, I don't know where I saw it. Just 2 days ago, I saw a thing. Oh, I know what it was for. And it gave the average time a person spends in a year on social media, just scrolling. It is, gosh, nobody loves social media more than me. We grew an entire group of Pizza Palooza with 2,700 people. We get you guys on here through social media. I love social media, but man, it can become the noose that hangs you. So that's just something to look at. Any questions before we wrap this puppy up? We have like a minuto left. Guys, put in the chat if you're interested in any of the things that I spoke about in the beginning of the webinar. My dog is scratching to get out because my fiance locked him in the door, and he's like, no, I need to be out with the people, because he's social, my little pup. Anyway, I want to thank all you guys. Paul, that is truly amazing. The grid, I love that it was raw, and I'm gonna prioritize some things with that. I think that's really great. And I'm gonna text you who I think you worked with on that. I think I know whose that was.
Okay.
Tell me if I'm right when I text you. All right, guys, anybody have anything? Are we good? Okay, everyone's got to run. They got to go back to doing what they do. And if you are treating all the time and you've got this concept that like you want to stay relevant with your clinicians, that is a BS strategy. I'm gonna be straight up. You have got to treat less and CEO more. That's the only way you're going to stabilize and expand. And the way you stay relevant is by training up really good leaders, and they stay relevant. I understand that concept because I want to stay relevant to all the people that I talk to. But as we grow, I have to delegate and let other people talk to people. It's kind of interesting. So I understand it, but you got to treat less, CEO more. Okay. All right, guys. Peace out, Paul. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next first Wednesday of the next month. So we'll see you then, and look for your emails and get on here and tell your friends. Okay. Thanks, guys. Love you all. Bye.